Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning out there.
How are you this morning? We hadn't talked a lot this morning. Just been getting ready, haven't we?
Yeah, a little slow on takeoff today, but
Yeah. But you're here, aren't you? We're live here. We're here live and in color. Here we are. And baby girl's here. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Good girl. Good girl. Waiting for her chicken treats. Anyway, we're glad you're here with us this morning. And it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a little cool here in North Carolina. We were having summertime weather, and then now it's
it is
gotten cooler.
real nice outdoors.
Yeah, but I'm so glad you're here with us. And let's see who's here today. Let's see who's here today. Oh, I did the wrong thing. Here we are. Here we are. James Dixon is the first one here this morning. Good morning, James. Good morning, sissy and brother-in-law. You gonna ring the bell today?
Yeah, when we get ready to.
He's getting his bell ready. And then there's Tanita. You early today, darling.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
Good
And
to see
there,
you.
and there's Dee Dee and George. George, I hated we missed your birthday. We're gonna have to get together anyway.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, he had a birthday. Was it last week? I think it was. Sanette's in Denmark. She said sunny spring Denmark. It's good to have you here today, Sanette. She says it's good afternoon there.
Well, that's close enough. I think that's fine. That's finer than Frog Head.
It is. It is. I'm so glad to see her here. And hey, Vern. Tax season. Vern's been really working.
Banana.
Yeah.
Mary Wilson.
She said she's gonna take her a little trip I think next week or so.
Can I go?
Hey, Sandra, how you doing? I thought about you this morning. I'm glad to see you here this morning.
Okay.
And then there's Kim.
Yeah.
Hey, Kim, we're still praying with you, sweetie pie. Still praying with you. Hello, Deb.
Miss Deb, I hope everything is going well. I had a good time with you over that Friday. I hope that lady I talked to is okay. She's a little bit rough, but I can take her. She's all right. But I've been thinking about it ever since I left from over there the other day.
And thanks for keeping us abreast of what's happening with Mike.
Yeah.
Let him know we're praying with him. Hello, Gerald.
Geraldine.
Good morning to you. Pastor Norman, good morning to you.
Pearlie.
Pray you have a great service today. There's Miss Pearl. Hey, sweetie.
Miss Pearl Jenkins.
Brother Kessler, I got to call you.
Kessler Jenkins.
I got some work I need you to do.
Oh, there she go, Mr. Kessler. There she go.
Hey, Jill. She's a new grandmother.
Oh, Grandma Jill.
What's the baby's name?
Grandma Jill went up the hill to fetch a pair
There's Brother Blue in the family. Hey, Brother Blue.
Good to see you.
Phyllis and Edward. I dreamed of you guys last night.
She was out of body.
I did.
Dr. John. Dr.
John's in the house. He's in the house, and there comes my sweetie pie Sue this morning.
Good to see you.
Good to have you with us this morning, Sue. And there's Sister Chris.
Gosh,
Sister Chris.
There's Rondo. Everything. Let's see.
Mike is getting better. She says Mike is getting better.
Good.
You can read it better over here, honey.
Okay.
And then there's Noelle. She's an auntie.
Ooh.
You're an auntie now.
Auntie May.
The baby's name is Enzo Nile. That's different.
That's good.
I can't say all that. What? Okay.
Enzo.
Yeah, that's a lot. You guys have to say it for me. I know I can't say all that, but I can say Enzo. I can say that. Yeah. Well, congratulations to being a new grandmother and a new auntie.
Wasn't some more. That was all of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it for now. So I'm glad you're here with us, and this is going to be another time for us to come together and make some truth discoveries.
Oh yeah. Some truths I found out that is already there, but it's waiting for an invitation through expression of trying to explain the unexplained at the same time listening to the inner witness of your inner self and learning how to notice stillness speaking and stillness expressing itself through the involvement with the syllabicity of your words.
Good morning, Sharon. Glad you popped in here today.
Sharon, jump rope. Yeah.
Well, I'm still in this mode of uh embodying that we know. When you've had a glimpse or you've awakened and you know who you are, now that you know who you are, that's settled. You're not looking for uh, fireworks or big bangs or any particular special experiences. You're not, when you come to a point where you're no longer trying to get there, you've just settled in. Then what?
Mhm.
You're you know who you are. So now embodying it and living it. And you said something yesterday about seeing Christ in everyone.
Mhm.
And it's not a spiritual or a vision that you see.
Sometimes it is to me. Mhm.
It is for you.
Mhm.
Okay. For me, it is not. It's a knowing that that's where God is.
Sometimes I get a knowing, then it's all combined with knowing and knowing, seeing, and hearing.
Yeah. And it's for me.
And beingness.
It's a knowing. And for me, it's simply a knowing that causes me to look at them without looking at them through a filter of my own conditionings.
The strength of this is like this. If I'm around somebody, they may talk mean and be talking from the dark side of. They can say anything
out of their conditionings.
Yeah.
You're speaking
and as
out
I stand there, the amazing thing is that all of a sudden I'm looking and my vision see him over them, and they all that stuff they're talking, whatever it is, don't care what it is, and memories, pain.
You see that.
I see him,
and that's good, because that's what you need in order to be able to.
And I can tell when I'm talking to them, I can tell he's me talking to himself inside of them. And another thing it does is train your ear to perceive in awareness that he's there. And when you see him over somebody that looks real mean and rough, even the people that sleep out on the streets and things, you look at him, you can still see him.
Yeah. Well, let's ring the bell, because we've already started talking, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. That went the bell. All is well with the bell. One more time. Okay.
That reminds me, when I was a little girl, my great aunt, we spent some time staying with her way before my baby sister and brother came along. We stayed with my great aunt, and across the street from her house was this church. Remember Shiloh?
Mm-hmm.
Shiloh Baptist, and they had a bell,
Mm-hmm.
and every Sunday that bell would ring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I used to love to hear that bell. But anyway, that's the thing that I'm dealing with mostly now, is how to embody that I am.
You mean you live right that close to that
She
church?
was right across the street from me.
Yeah. Yes. Now, we went to that church a few times when we were.
Yeah, after we got married.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. That church is very old. It's been there.
I think it's still there too.
Yeah, it's been there a very, very long time.
Yeah, I preached in that church after.
And I used to sit on the porch, and we could hear people crying and praising God in there.
Wow.
You could hear them. Mm. I know it was something.
That touched my heart.
Because back then there was not any air conditioning, and they would open the windows.
Yeah.
So you could actually hear what was going on. It was really something to grow up with that experience.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the embodiment of that you are comes from settling in and knowing, and like we were talking about, seeing Christ in everyone.
Mhm.
For you, it's almost an actual vision, but
Actually,
for me, it's simply a knowing that
it's
causes
him. I mean,
causes me to realize that what I see isn't necessarily when they respond or when they behave, whatever their behavior is and their response is.
It doesn't move that.
I'm aware of most of them. The majority of us are moving out of our own conditionings,
and that's what I was
and it helps me
experiencing.
to be more forgiving
Yeah.
and understanding of people.
That's what I was experiencing at Rondo's barbershop yesterday with the conversation. I could see it.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's awesome. It is really I can't put the words to describe him. All I can say when I see him is that I always tell him, I see you. Now, if I keep saying it now, I can see.
How does it make you feel about the person that when you see him, however you say it, overlaid on that person? What does it make you feel about that person?
Well, when I first see him, sometimes it'll be at the worst moment of a conversation with somebody. Like I'll be standing around listening, and I could pass them and they're talking to somebody else. But when I see him, it immediately perceives and discerns itself with the person who have no idea the fulfillment of what he said. Have I not been so long with them, and they not know it?
Do you react at the point when you see that? Do you react to how they're reacting or how they're behaving, or is it just that it causes you not to?
A lot of times I tell them that I see him. I know when to say it, and a lot of times I don't do anything, just stand there and listen and watch.
Yes.
I had the same experience in UPS yesterday with one of the girls that receiving my package, and when I looked at her behind the counter, I said to her, "You know him, don't you?" And I don't have to say I don't have to say the Lord's name or the JC. I just look at him. I said, "You know him." And when I say him, they shake their head. And sometimes I'll tell them he's standing right there, and he looks just like you.
Yeah. So it's more or less a point of recognition.
You have to get acquainted with that.
Yeah, and it's a point of recognition. And even with your own seeing who you are, knowing who you are, it's a point of recognition, isn't it?
It is.
It's at some point you recognize, okay, this is what I am.
Yeah, and you can go. I can go in a liquor store or ABC store, anywhere where there's roughness, and even in the what's called the hip hop gangs or places, rough streets and things. If I go through it, I can see them.
Yeah. Now this is so funny. You made me think of when we went to St. Louis. You remember that?
Yeah.
And we were just riding around. Now here we are. We went through a black neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we ended up in a spot in the black neighborhood that we were afraid. We were black, but we were afraid.
That happened up in Asheville. Asheville when we was up there.
Well, there too, but it happened also in St. Louis. But it's funny. We were afraid of our own. The blackness was there, and we were black, but we were still scared because of the energy that was there was so dark and so dense.
Here's the deal. He does not hide himself, and it seems like he's revealing himself, and you see him, but he'll disappear, seem like, and what will cause the disappearance is that I decided to look at them and not see him. And then sometime I decided to look at them And he's still standing there.
You just made me realize something, because the reason a lot of times when the union with God has been consummated
Mm-hmm.
to where there is now only one, there are no longer two, but there's only one here. It feels like God has disappeared.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It feels as if God has disappeared, but it's only because your eyeballs can't turn around and see itself. And so it appears that it's disappeared, but it has not disappeared, except for the awareness of an other.
Yeah.
There's no awareness of an other. So when you look at a person and you still have that, it seems he's disappearing,
Mm-hmm.
and you said it's because you look at the person
Mm-hmm.
and not him. When it seems that God has disappeared here, it's probably because we're looking at the person.
There's a saying.
Our person.
Yeah. There's
as
a saying.
Person. Yes.
I came forth to meet thee diligently to seek thy face, and I have found her.
Mm-hmm.
I have found her. I have found him. So I wanted to find him. And
we went through years and years of seeking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the church really called the anointing, and what the books say anointing is really, I would say, an ointment, a smearing, rubbing off of consciousness on that is in front of you, in the mind of the low vibrational frequency. I can see him in the darkest corner. I can see him in the darkest person condition. I can see him.
Yeah.
And what is so amazing about it, he appears to be people that no way they would believe if you told them that he was standing there.
Yes, and I was about to say that yesterday I was looking at some of the kids. They were out playing, and they were riding their bikes, and they were driving the golf carts and all of this stuff, just enjoying the weather and all of this. And sometimes I look at them, and when I see people walking and moving, doing different activities, I realize who it is doing those activities, but they have no clue. Well, I won't say none of them, but the majority of them, especially the kids, they don't have a clue who they are doing all of that, but they're being who they are. They are actually still embodying that they are without a knowing.
Coming down the stairs like we saw him, I can come down the stairs, and when I get to the front room, I can look back over my stairs and see him coming down the stairs in my form. And what's amazing, over in the morning at 3 and 4, when I get up, I see him in the memories of people that I talked to and been around during the daytime. I met a guy at the service station that's a UPS tractor trailer driver. And he was friendly and started talking to me. I talked to him, but I could sense who he was. That the most amazing thing about it is there's nothing can stop him. You can't be mean enough. And I don't say this to give you license to be mean. You can't hide from him. When I see him, you said, well, how does it make you feel? Sometimes I'll stand there and I go, tears are dropping. I had to choke my words when I talk about this. It reminds me how he walked on the Emmaus Road with Peter, James, and John, and they were discussing after his resurrection about what Jesus was and talking to him like a stranger, but he was there. Mary was at the tomb, and she said, where I have thrown him hence, that way the word says. Where is he? And then he appeared to her in the form of the caretaker over the garden.
Yes.
Oh, Lord, this subject.
I know. how
Lord
to
have
see
mercy.
Christ in everyone,
And it's not
even in yourself. And there's a scripture
yeah.
that says, where Job says, "In my flesh shall I see God."
I
And
see him.
that's the thing
Oh, yeah, I
that
see him.
I'm praying all of us will experience, that we will one day begin to see in our own flesh God.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Now, Leslie, hey, Leslie
Yeah,
Alston is here. Hey, sweetie pie, she
Leslie.
asked a question. I'm not sure what you're saying, but if you can clarify, we'll try to address it. She said, could we say it's like a blind man? I'm not real sure what you're referring to. We've been talking so much. So just give us a little bit of insight as to what you're asking, Leslie. Yeah.
Now, in what you just said there, I can tell that the response that you're giving back with what we said, that's him. That's him talk. That's him typing. That's him saying. He didn't finish it, but he will when you come back and put in some more.
Yes. And Marvita, hey, sweetie pie, she's here. She said, I often saw and felt the energy of the Most High God while working in the club more than I could see and feel that in the churches. Yeah, and this is the thing that we are kind of, let's take a quantum leap, because those of us who've been in Christian circles, we look for the presence of God, but we don't look for it in people.
Yeah.
And what we're saying is that there is the absolute seeing of that it is true about every being. And those, we're not looking at them as personalities, even though we can see that. We see that and see through it to that they actually are, which is that presence of God that they don't even know that they're being that. And it is God playing every role. That's what's so important. It is God playing every role. And even when they get on your last nerve, I mean, when they really pee you off, that's still God playing that role.
Often when I'm in the garage working on a project, and I may drop something and can't find it, and then after I look a while and I find it, I say to him, me, thank you. And I see him. Oh, it's words are inadequate to explain. But what's so amazing about it, once in a while, I see what kind of clothes he's wearing when I see him. And sometimes I look at his feet and can tell his feet is in my shoes, and his footsteps permeate through my shoes to the place I'm going or walking in. And then I can feel a lot of times the place that I'm walking in, I could see his footprints in the
well
in
you
the
made me, I want to respond to something that Sue said, because that's been and I'm not crashing on you, Sue, but that has been the misconception that if we all see Christ in everyone, we would have heaven on earth. But we're seeing Christ in everyone now, and it's hell on earth.
Yeah,
and it's hell on earth, but you are heaven walking. You are heaven walking.
Heaven is.
It won't change to this, but it's you. You are heaven walking in the midst of all of that.
Just say if we were to go to heaven, we would go to see the place that we are. And if we leave heaven, we leave a place that never leaves us.
And I have to say this, because I'm glad Sue said this, because we have been looking for a utopia that doesn't exist. And while I love the thought that it would be heaven on earth, there is no such thing in this land of separation.
Now, sometimes I see the guardian angel or light being standing next to a person. Like I've seen, I've been standing in front of people and I look up, and behind them will come a light being or the person's loved one on the other side. And then sometime I'll be in the store, like in Walmart, but it's at certain stores I go to. I see them with children, and some of the children I don't approach. I want to, but they look at me strange.
Yeah.
They look at me like,
yeah.
who is this man with all
They
this hair on
do.
his
They
face?
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
Who
They
was
do.
that? Was it Shelley that used to be in Renee's arm, your sister's arm, and he used to reach up and pull a patch of hair out of my beard?
That was your great nephew, Darius.
That was Darius
who went to the prom yesterday.
Yeah.
He was 17, went to the prom.
Mhm.
Looked so cool. He looked so good. But yeah, that was Darius. But now I'm going to go back to the utopia doesn't exist. However, it exists inside you. It is in you. When Jesus walked the earth as a human being, I am sure he had mastered the seeing of Christ in everyone and how he related to each being. However, there was no heaven on earth. There was a lot of disturbance, but he said, the prince of this world comes and has nothing in me.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no disturbance in him.
When he was at the pool of Bethesda at the sheep gate, different people were laying around a dirty place. And it was said that at a certain season, an angel would appear and trouble the water, and whoever stepped in got miraculously restored or healed. Can you imagine what he said when, and I was there and you didn't see me? He was all of the muck, and
he was all of that. Yes.
He was
the nastiness of that sheep gate.
Yeah, he was talking to a man talking to him that didn't recognize that him and Jesus was one and the same because of the picture, the vision. Is my buddy back? And I could see that each one of those people that got in that water or that muddy place was being cleansed by him, and then all of a sudden he shows up.
Yes.
It's a sudden burst of energy that explodes in the vision. But I can only say that once this is seen, let's just say if I stayed around you long enough, like I tell somebody about on my saw when I'm making something, if you stay around long enough, you'll catch it. If you would stay around somebody talking like this all the time, you would eventually say, oh, I do see him. Because at the moment I see him, I will explain to you how he's seen. And I've been doing it online here with some of you already.
And I think I think it's different for every one of us, because like you were saying, sometimes you see him see Christ actually overlaid over that person. However, I don't have that particular sensing. It's just simply a knowing. But in that knowing, when I look at that person and I know that Christ is there, I have the knowing and the sensing, then how I relate to that being is different. Yeah. It's different.
And sometimes when I get up in the morning and my feeling pain body don't feel too good.
Yeah.
There's something about that it's his name and his self are one the same. And he's using our earthly name as his. His name is our earthly name, even though it was given.
So, you know the song that says, I've been changed?
Yeah.
I dare say, I think we have been exchanged and not just changed.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We've been exchanged. There has been an exchange of powers, an exchange of seeing, an exchange of how I see it. All of those things have taken place in some. Now, there's some good comments I need to get to, sweetheart. And Man of the Universe, welcome to Cornerstone this morning.
Yes.
He says, although God is not an other, I still feel I have a relationship with God. I can still pray, meditate, devote time or my life to it the best I know how. Yes, yes. And I heard a spiritual teacher say this way back. I listened to, they said, you don't have to be monochromatic. It's not an either or. If I'm walking in oneness, I don't have to give up having the relationship. You can, whatever feels good at that moment, that's the way you move.
Some of us have developed an ability from the left brain to talk a certain type of language that gives out the idea that they are really heavy, tight, and deep in spirituality. Mm-hmm. But what I'm talking about has not anything to do with spirituality, because when I first saw him, I couldn't read at the time. If I did, it was just the is and an and the, but it was not able to be translated to me. He did that for me from inside me. Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to say this. We want you guys to continue to comment.
Please do.
Even if it sounds like we're tweaking it, please continue to comment, because we're not rebuking you or any of those. We're not trying to correct you. We're just simply adding the spin of true seeing to what you said. So continue to say and do and comment. We appreciate it.
So that is like, it's kind of what you're saying. You got a coin in your hand, you see one side, and then in that same coin you can turn it over and see the other side. What you see on one side is the same on the other side. It may appear to be a different imprint on one side of a coin than the other, but the coin itself is made whole. So you are made. We are all we are the made already made wholeness of God, and I can't explain to you. Somebody say, "Well, why did he choose you?" I thought I knew one time, but I lost the thought I knew.
I want to again, and Sue, I am so glad you're saying what you're saying. Look, you are not alone in how you're thinking and how you're feeling.
No, you're not. That's him talking to us.
She says this. She says, that being said, I will be happy when I see the Christ in everyone I meet.
Oh,
there are days when I can, and there are days when I find it very difficult. I want to say to you, sweetheart, that the days that you find it difficult, it is okay. But it's probably because you're looking at Sue. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but when we're caught up with ourselves, it's difficult to see Christ in other people. But that's not a correction for you. It's continue to do what you're doing. Continue to see as you're seeing, and grace will bring you to the point where you will begin to see first that Christ has to be seen here as Sue, and Christ moving in the world as Sue, meeting these people as himself. And that will sometimes it takes a little while for us to move out of our own personal space. And that's something we all deal with.
Now, I'm glad you said that, Miss Sue. Days when you can and days when you can't. What you're telling me inside your voice, I can hear it said, I can see him some days because of my conditioned self, and other days I can't see him because
I'm looking through my conditioned self. Yes.
What I'm talking about does not have anything to do with a day when or a day not.
But we often
in prison, he says I was.
Yeah.
And you visit me now. That meant that he is every one of those in jail.
Yeah. Even when we don't recognize.
You have to be willing to give up it's a word, I feel it. Let's see if I can say it. You have to be willing to give up the old
paradigm.
Old paradigm. That's one of the words. You have to be given up to the soft gaze.
That's it.
To see him.
And I want to. You said it. And you're talking about it as a soft gaze, but you have to go soft inside.
That's I was
You
trying
do.
to say
You
it
do
in
have to
one
go
word.
soft inside.
I do know this, that what you're saying online to us now, I can tell that you do see him,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you are
Yeah.
seeing him,
Yeah.
and you always will and always have seen him. I heard the word when I said that to you, Miss Sue. I heard the word sister.
Mm. Mm.
I don't know what that means to you, but I heard the word sister. And he'll tell me things like that. And that relates to somebody's in heaven before you left, and somebody that's on earth that could be still here. But he said sister, which means some part of you is the sister of your family as well as you. It's a mystical thing, Miss Sue, but there are days when you can and cannot, but it never changed when you can't, and it never changed when you can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I see you,
Mm-hmm.
I hear you, and sometimes like now, he'll be so prevalent. I walk up to a guy, I can't explain it, and he has his lips stuck out, and he's disappointed. I look at him and I can see Jesus walking in the door of a store, and sometimes I say good afternoon, good morning. The person don't say anything,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's when my
Mm-hmm.
attention switches over to the mean side of that person. But I can
Mm-hmm.
still see him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it, sweetheart. I just know that I do. I just know that I do. Was that her sneezing?
That's baby girl sneezing. Yeah. But you remember the scripture that says that a man's foes will be those of his household. In other words, those people that you're closest to, it's it's more difficult to see Christ in them, and it's more difficult for them to see Christ in you. Even Jesus had that problem because they saw him as Jesus the carpenter, or Joseph's and Mary's boy. They didn't see Christ. They didn't see who he was. And for that reason, he wasn't able to do many miracles where that happened, because they saw him as a person and not as the essence of God that he is. And so that's the same thing that happens to us. We often get lost in our own conditionings, or we use our conditionings as a filter to see through. And when we do that, everything is distorted. It's like seeing a white horse, but you got on pink glasses and rose-colored glasses. The horse looks pink. And so when the rose-colored glasses are removed, you find out the horse has never changed. It's always been white.
Sometimes in his clothes, when I see him, I can see the flowers that his robe is made out of. I can see how in his day an animal was created to give its life for the hide, the leather hide that comes off of the animal, to be the shoes on his feet. And
and for that reason, that animal lived.
That animal lived.
To be.
He lived to be able to,
and that was the
be
reason it was
slaughtered
here.
to be the shoes on somebody's feet. Now, when you look at this, the essence
good.
that he is
That's good.
as a tree gives itself to die in a sawmill to become timber for a house that Jesus lives in our form. When you find a house to live in, if it is an apartment, that's him finding that house. I just picked up yesterday on the way to Greensboro where the homeless guys stand during the daytime, and I have a box of change money. If I don't forget it, the next time I come to your barbershop, Miss Rondo, I will, before I get there, you won't know it. I'm going to stop and get out of my Jeep and look at them. And whichever one I give the change to will be the one that he appears to me as being that one. Now, if he's appeared to be all of them, I just tell all of them, split
Share
it up.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing. It is the
Mhm.
most respectful expression. Pastor Norman, I can feel him, sense him in your class or your service this morning.
Mm.
Um, there's an old cartoon we used to look at called Minnie Mouse.
Yeah.
And there's a song that they, in the words of a song,
Here I come to save
here I
the
come to save the
day.
day. But and then I'm deep down into the second phase of the bridge of the song, it said, Mr. Grumple never lose a fight. When he faces mine, he miles, something like that.
All right.
On the sea or on the land, Minnie Mouse will get his man, something like that.
We used to love Mighty Mouse.
This.
We've got some great comments. Can I move on with
please
them?
do.
Marvita said this, and she said it way back when we were talking about heaven. She says, "Are you saying we may leave heaven? However, heaven never leaves us."
Yes.
That's right.
And what leaves is the attention.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When you fully, or when Christ is fully revealed to you that he is the fullness of all of us.
Yes.
He is the full feeling of the darkest dissatisfaction with one's life and events.
Yes. Now, Sinette says, we are co-creator, creating from a point of separation. Yes. We can ask the Holy Spirit to see the coin, attachment to the idea, and the different views on the coin. We can give up the coin and be our light. She said, be gentle to myself, allowing love to unfold with ease. Yes, ma'am. That's my point. Ease back into, settle back into, fall back into the loving arms of God that has you and understands you and is not condemning you even when you condemn yourself. And then Sue says, oh my goodness, I was just thinking that I can see Christ in strangers sometimes more easily than those closest to me. Yeah, because those closest to us get on our nerves because we're close to them all the time. And we see every fault they have, and we see all the conflicts. We often get into conflicts with them. So yes, it's a whole lot easier to accept Christ in others than it is in those that are closest to us. Now, Man of the Universe says, I believe we can have heaven in a physical space as we evolve. Our planet evolves with us. Yes, and that is the hope that keeps us moving in this direction.
Here's a clue. Go to the heart. Go attention to the heart of everything around you. Mm-hmm. When you go to the heart of it, just relax. It will be him that would bring to your or to the memory of what we're saying. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I can hear him in your comments talking to himself.
Yes.
And asking himself questions.
And searching hard to find himself.
Maybe it's because there's a certain part of me that was conditioned. I always wanted to see him. And I know we all would like to, but I really don't understand what was the obsession with seeing him. But I wanted to. He lives. He lives.
Now, can I clarify something? Because I want to, when we say seeing Christ in others, now for my honey pie here, he's literally seeing the Christ man overlaid over people. And I know that's what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Christ is actually not a man, and it is not a cosmic energy. It is the union between humanity and divinity is what Christ is. It's where God and man touch. It's that place where there is no division, where there is no separation. There's no distinguishing what's different. Is where God is different than man and different from God. It's that point where the two meet.
Yeah.
The divinity and the humanity. That's what Christ is. And in fact, the Immaculate Conception is when you see for the first time that that's what you are. That is the Immaculate Conception. If for the first time you conceive, you don't just believe it, you don't just try to see it, but you actually see, oh, that's what I am. And it's at that point of recognition that your seeing of everything else begins to change. And it's not a spooky spiritual phenomenon that we're talking about, walking around having visions. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about walking around and seeing halos over people and all of that. We're not talking about that. But it's the realization that every person and every being that you see is that connection, that place where man and God meet. And that's what Christ is.
It's a humbling type of thing.
It is.
But I can't say the words that some of you guys are saying. I would love to be able to talk like you talk.
Mm-hmm. We're losing the ability to have the language.
Yeah. I wanted to talk like some of the sages and talk like some of you guys, which is a gift that he is working through you. I don't know as much about punctualities and things as some of y'all, but I do know. I know what I hear
and what we see. Yes,
I know what I hear.
Yes,
and it's hesitancy in placing words. Some of you good at it. I mean, you really can say it in a way that unveiling, and you're really gifted with that ability to talk.
Yes,
I didn't know that when I was in school. I went to school with Jesus. I didn't know when I was in that first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and ninth grade, on through the 12th, that it was him that was standing up in front of the
class.
The class talking. But I was, I didn't know what I know now. I didn't see what I see now. But when I look back over it, there's a song that said, when I look back over my past, something like that are words I hear.
My life.
I said life, but I said past, but over my life.
That's an old song.
Yes, an old song.
Yeah.
Jesus on the inside coming to the outside, but Jesus already on the outside igniting who he is in consciousness inside. Now we off to seeing what's keeping the rabbit hole open for us to go into and see the other side of the land of miracles. The miracles that Jesus did, which quoted in the book, was nothing in comparison to the miracle that he is expressing through us on this telecast or computer this morning. All of the information that was used to make these machines work, that was that's him. Yes, union between God and us, the divinity of humanity becoming divine, and oneness becoming twos and threes and fours and nines and 10, a oneness that dissolves itself. It will soak up everything that seemed to be separated, but yet individually He was everybody and is everybody on the earth. It does not, please hear this, it does not have anything to do with receiving Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
It doesn't.
This is what we're talking about.
But it does. But it does have to do with a revelation.
Yeah.
Of Jesus Christ, and not as a religious figure. And most of you that are talking on here today, not all of you, but the majority of us are asking for the revelation, a revelation. I just noticed this in my note. It says the transmutation of hell to heaven is not a battle, but a revelation.
Yeah.
So it's the revelation of Jesus Christ that we had that led us into this.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't a book. It wasn't a hearing of a teaching. It was the revelation of Jesus Christ. And then I remember in Galatians, I'm going to read this scripture for us. In Galatians 1 and 2, Paul said this, I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it, but by the revelation of Jesus Christ. And then he goes on down to the 15th verse. He says, when it pleased God who separated me from my mother's womb. In other words, he took my conscious thinking away from being a person born out of a woman. This is what he was saying. And called me by his grace to reveal his son in me. To reveal his son in me. Mm-hmm. That is the revelation that we're all asking for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I feel when I write my words.
That's what, Man of the Universe said. Yes, he said, I feel when I write, my words are decent. When I speak, they are a mess. And people are like, what?
Yeah, like, what? Yeah, you're hitting it right there.
And I understand exactly what you're saying. I can write so fluently, but then when I get ready to say what I know, it's really difficult to put it into words.
I got a piece of paper. I wrote some things down when we'd be talking. It'll come to me. All right. The voice that is being used now through these vessels is not our real voice. It is a phantom voice. The real voice of all of us is one and the same. Many voices are the voice of many waters.
Yes.
Whatever God is, we are. We are speaking through beingness. And that's difficult for a left brain to speak through the Christ identity without being corrected with a sensing of trying to find out how does God collectively unite a voice with individuals as one.
Exactly.
We are the one Son of God and have always been that one Son. Galatians 2:20. There's only one Son of us. One us as a son, daughter of God.
As a matter of fact, God was not a father until he had sons.
Wow.
So God would not have ever been a father if it had not been for us.
No, that's really something.
That is something, isn't it?
It is.
I like how Marveda worded it. She said the complete alignment of spirit and soul is where the divinity is expressed.
Yeah.
That is the point of Christ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now I told somebody in the UPS store, there was a lady came in, delivered a package, and when she turned and looked at me when I was talking to the lady, I could see the eyes of Jesus looking out of her face. And I told her, I said, I can see him looking at me through your eyes. I said, everybody in the universe has his color of eyes. Now, I wouldn't say that years ago because I would think that in order for that to happen, I would be lying. I wouldn't be telling the truth. I was way out in left field if I told anybody that.
Yeah.
But now, along with this seeing comes a courage,
Mm-hmm.
a settled fact.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I don't have to struggle with it. I don't have to go find a reason to witness to them. A man yesterday also, I was getting ready to come out to get in my Jeep, and this man was parked next to me. He said, "Sir, would you mind if I take a picture of your Jeep?" I said, "No, no problem. You can." And he got out and we talked, and he helped me open the back of it because on the back of my Jeep, the spare tire
It's
is
heavy.
is as heavy as the ones that I got on. They're 40-inch tall tires, and they're 1550 wide, and they're on a 20-inch wheel. And so he had to help me open the gate. And I went back there and I showed him the book of the toys and the pictures that I made and that I make. It's in another drawer over there. And he looked at him, and then he had to wrestle with getting the gate closed. And he finally did. And he said he worked on cars, and he said he would like to purchase my Jeep just to have the parts on it to work with and play with. And I thought he's gonna take my Jeep and tear it all to pieces. But anyway,
Your toy.
yeah, my toy. I have no more grace than the grace is with y'all.
That's right.
If I could pull together some way that all of us could come into our house in one place, all I would want to do is sit there and look at you and tell you that Jesus Christ is standing right there over you. I can see it, and it's not like, yeah, let's just say if I go somewhere and I don't see him and I want to see him, all I have to do is just mention something about him being them.
Well, you make me think of something. When a person is on an airline, and I've said this before, when they're going through that training process of what to do in case an emergency comes up, they tell that person they tell all of them to put the mask on you first and then help other people. And I want to say this to all of us, all of you who are listening. Don't try to see Christ in everyone else until you see Christ in you. You must see Christ in you because only Christ can see Christ. Does that make any sense? You must first see Christ as you, and then Christ will see Christ in everyone else.
Marvita, is that right?
That's Pastor Hill's daughter.
The complete alignment of spirit and the soul.
I just read that.
You did. Where the divinity is expressed. That is the point of Christ. That's a good word. But let me share this with you, honey. When I used to come to Milwaukee, her dad was Mr. Pastor Hill.
Pastor Hill.
These guys, they didn't understand that I came to Milwaukee that seemed like because they asked me to speak at their church. But I came there to meet myself.
Yes.
In the suit and the form
yes.
that your dad was.
Yes.
Now, you say, well, what are you going to do about a man or woman that's addicted to heroin and drugs? What are you going to do about a man that is carrying a gun? What are you going to do about these people that's killing these children in schools? You don't really want me to talk about that. You really don't. Because if I do, I'm going to tell you of some of the most radical things of God that I know and see about why those things happen. It's scary, but it's a mystical truth. Let's put it like this. When Jesus went to the cross, I saw something behind him that was scratching the ground, trying to get away from him, but it was tied to him. And what it was the dark world.
The shadow side.
The shadow side. We used to call it Lucifer or Satan. I just use that metaphorically. I saw
the shadow side.
I saw him with that cross drag that wild beast to the cross with him. This is metaphor. I saw them drive the nails in his hand. This was a metaphor. And this being called evil was also crucified. You say, well, when something is crucified, it dies. That's true. That dark world is a dying, deaf world. And Jesus took it.
Yep.
And we were inside of him, watching, observing, and doing it along with him. You see him, you will never be able to do anything separate and apart from him. I don't care how bad it is, he soaks it up. He's like my baby girl. She is given to soak up the energy that we can't handle, like the feathers or the wings on ducks. Ducks will come up to each other and fight, and that energy under their wing that caused the fight on that water, they'll go out and flap their wing, flap, and they dissipated the energy. But they are still a duck.
It's still a duck.
A duck is a duck, and everything that quack is a duck. Some people think that everything that quack may not be a duck.
But if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Hey, here's the one where you sing in class in school. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on his farm he had some chicken, E-I-E-I-O, and a little cluck there and a little cluck here, everywhere cluck, 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 every, oh my God.
I think you kind of modified that.
I did. I like that.
Don't shake the table.
I'm sorry. I like that. Do you know how that song went all the way? You know it?
Yeah.
We'll get it later.
You want to sing Old MacDonald?
I just love it. I just love it.
Oh my gosh.
Once upon a time, there was a man. His name was Bat Masterson.
Oh my gosh, come on.
Back when the West was very young.
Why are you going back to all of that?
There lived a man named Masterson. He wore a cane and a derby hat. His name was Bat Masterson.
Now why are we singing about Bat Masterson?
I feel him singing that inside. I can feel the Lord singing it in me. He sings to me a lot of times.
All your childhood favorites.
Yeah, he did. He does. I am building on a foundation with this conversation today of the Christ identity in the and as the life of darkness that seemed to be dark in every one of us. You
Sisters, she said old MacDonald had some chickens.
Ain't no MacDonald had no chicken. He killed every one of them.
He did have some chickens.
Old MacDonald.
You just sang it.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, old MacDonald
had
a
cluck cluck here and a cluck cluck
there.
Yeah,
he killed a chicken.
Here cluck, there cluck, everywhere
and,
cluck.
And killed a chicken and took him down to Henny Penny. And
anyway, guys, we have kind of gone off of the beaten path now. And we want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being with us today. Pray that you have a beautiful Sunday afternoon. For those of you who are here in the States, for Sinette, she's already in the afternoon in Denmark. But we're glad you came, sis, today. And I hope that you got something out of our message today. It was all about the revelation that causes seeing, or the seeing of Christ in yourself, the seeing of Christ in others. That's what we were talking about.
There's an old song that came up and said, "When I get to heaven, I'm going to sit down." And
you got all these songs going through.
And he said, "When I get to heaven, sit down." And then at the end, it said, "Sit down and rest a little while." I don't think I want to sit that long. No. But I tell you one thing I saw about heaven. The chairs that they sit around in the council room doing these sessions of intimate discussion of events in the universe. When they get up out of those chairs around that hall table, they leave the imprint of the description of who it was that was sitting in that chair. And I had a chance to read the energy of the chairs that was sitting around.
Well, we do that too.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone has that energy that they leave behind, that ectoplasmic energy.
What a marvelous, exciting adventure you will have, and you're having, seeing Jesus in everything.
Yes.
Oh.
In yourself first. In yourself first. Because only Christ can see Christ.
Oh, what a taste that it reveals itself in your tongue.
Leslie said, today is Tasha's only baby sister, Olivia's birthday. I'm singing Old MacDonald. She said, thanks, Pastor.
You're so welcome, sweetheart. Oh, if you were here with us today, Miss Leslie, I would hug you and squeeze all of the, what they call, the nectar of honey. I would squeeze all the honey juice out of you.
You'd squeeze it like we squeeze those grasshoppers.
Oh, yes.
Did you ever squeeze a grasshopper?
I used to try that. I didn't like that, but I know about it. Yeah.
We thought we were getting molasses out of them.
They weren't squeezing the essence out of them and something else too.
Oh my God. The things we did when we were kids. I wonder if kids do that now. Do they do that kind of stuff? They got all these electronics and things.
Yeah,
we had nature.
Wait, they are too busy now, left-brained and everything.
Well,
I call it left-brained and everything too. Everything's
computerized.
So when I went to the dog show yesterday, I was standing there. He had to tell me to hit blue or hit red on that box beside.
And like the little kids here in our neighborhood, they got all these things they do. They ride, they drive golf carts, and all that kind of stuff. They play outside though.
Look, we're gonna take off here, but listen, sweetheart. Remember us, guys say, remember me and remember us in the soup.
When you go on your vacation.
Yeah.
Or your family reunions.
We are greatly expecting funds to come in the mail. We are expecting God to give through people, Spirit give through people at this moment of our walk in the walkless Christ moving. We need your financial assistance tremendously, and I'll leave it at that because I don't believe in money pitching, but I remind my Christ self.
We're the worst at it.
Yeah, we are in great need of your financial assistance, and we'll leave it at that.
We will be back on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. I started to say 7:30. 7 o'clock. We'll be back on Tuesday night. Our internet was going in and out yesterday. Not sure. And Thursday when we were with Pastor Norman, it went off for a few seconds and came back. But hopefully, if everything's okay and there's no storms or whatever, we'll be back on Tuesday at 7. And then hopefully again on Thursday at 12:30, we'll have our impromptu. And we hope to see you there. Looking forward to seeing you there. And hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button. Hit the like button.
And look at this. Look at it. Walk in the light. beautiful light. Somewhere the dewdrops of mercy shine bright. Shine all around me by day and by night.
You are the light of the world.
Jesus, as you are the light of the world.
That's too many words.
I know. I'm going to put that in there.
It didn't work.
I know it worked for me.
It didn't work.
Jesus as the light is the light of the world in your form.
Love you guys. We'll see you next time.
See you later. Be safe.